Gentlemen and female gentlemen, it is time for some D&D lore. That's right, we are doing the D&D lore dives. We're covering every single creature in lore of D&D. We're currently doing beholders. We've recently done some pretty epic stuff like the Tarask and the aboleths. But I'm excited to see what the beholders are all about, because all I know about beholders is that they're flying heads. Or something, or they have eyes, big eyes. That's all I know about them. But I'm excited to see if they're actually terrifying, because recently D&D released some art on Twitter that made beholders kind of look gay. But people told me don't judge D&D by the current art that they're releasing on Twitter. So let's see what we got.
Beholders of Dungeons and Dragons are some of the most recognizable monsters of modern gaming. There is no other word that describes them more than the word iconic.
I mean, that dude, that's aura.
Modern gaming. There is no other word that describes.
Look at this guy, giant, terrifying, flying head, eyeballs and shit. Yeah, he's so right.
Than more than the word iconic. So much so, in fact, that out of the hundreds and hundreds of monsters that have become part of the Dungeons and Dragons mythos, the Beholder is one of the precious few that D&D has actually claimed as product identity.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's actually really cool. I mean, to be honest, Beholder is pretty freaking cool. It really is a scary guy. That's why I was so disappointed when I saw the gay art that they posted about it on Twitter. But all right, I'm excited to see. People in my chat are telling me this is going to be in the S tier. So as you know that I'm doing a tier list at the end of every single D&D creature lore dive. I put it on a giant tier list. We'll see.
In other words, the Beholders are Dungeons and Dragons. Can't use them in any other context, unlike something like the owlbear, for example, which anyone could use outside of D&D. This exclusivity is one of the reasons Beholders are so iconic to the franchise. But what really is a Beholder? I mean, you couldn't just copyright floating eyeball monster after all in a...
That's literally what I thought it was. That's why I'm so shocked everyone keeps saying it's S tier, because I'm like, isn't it just a floating eyeball monster? Like, literally, like, come on, dude. It's a floating eyeball monster. And, you know, everyone's out there, you know, telling me it's S tier in chat. I don't know, man.
Of course, you couldn't. But the thing is, there is so much more about these creatures. So much more than what meets the eye. A Beholder is a floating orb with a large eye and a wide, toothy maw at its center, covered with 10 eye stalks found all throughout the upper sections of its body.
All right.
It mysteriously...
I mean, it's definitely a design.
Levitates in the air and produces powerful magical rays from each of its 11 eyes, with each eye creating an entirely different magical effect.
That is so cool! Oh my god, I can't believe this. I just thought they were flying heads with eyeballs.
It is known as one of the most powerful creatures in the fantasy, having a genius-level intellect, possessing magic powerful enough to singularly destroy monsters in a single hit, and of course, the fabled ability of its grand central eye, able to completely disrupt the magic of anything that it sees.
That is so fucking cool. Wait, actually?
Any magic that its large eye gazes simply ceases to function. It is one of the most coveted abilities in...
Oh my god. On-site anti-magic. That's terrifying. Oh my god, it might actually be S tier.
Dungeons and Dragons to be able to stop that which makes the fantasy world go round. Fireballs? Not while the Beholder is watching. Magical items? They don't work anymore. Not even an army of angels and devils can withstand the gaze of a Beholder, for even creatures summoned by magic disappear out of existence when confronted with the power.
That is so busted. What the hell?
Of anti-magic. The middle eye of a Beholder creates a field of anti-magic that simply eliminates all magic within its view. And the most brutal part of this unbelievably powerful effect is that it just simply cannot be countered. You cannot use any spell or magical ability to counter it because magic simply will not work.
This is like using a trap card on Jinzo. It's like, you can't use a trap to kill Jinzo because Jinzo negates traps. Like, what the fuck do you do? I guess you have to like slice it up.
No counterspell, no dispel magic, or any other powerful defensive spell can protect you from the terrifying maw of a Beholder. Now, before we cover the hidden powers of the Beholder, this video is brought to you by Factor, ready to eat line for this edition. Let's go over the 5th edition monster manual to look at its stat block, just to get a baseline for how the creature functions. This here is a stat block for the creature as it is given to us for this
high intelligence
edition. They are large-sized creatures and they are lawful evil.
Okay.
Now, lawful, of course, in this context means that the creature follows a form of dogma, code, set of tenets, or
yeah, because it's smart. It's not just some random guy.
Belief structure.
I wonder if its weak spot is stabbing it in the eye.
That is likely to be bigger than itself. And then evil means that the creature is generally after itself and will take active decisions that benefit him, even if it harms others. It has a natural armor of 18, but if you see down here, it has a +2 to dexterity. See, creatures with natural armor tend to increase their armor class by their dexterity modifier, so the real power of a beholder's flesh is 16, not 18, which is the lower end of iron, not too shabby, it's pretty good. It can only hover to move, but interestingly, it cannot be made prone, which basically means that you cannot mess with its flying. You cannot make him prone to cause him to fall down onto the ground, and because it hovers, it means that it floats in place regardless of whatever you do to it, even if it falls unconscious.
Holy shit.
Unless, of course, the creature dies, at which point it does fall onto the ground.
Okay, so it literally just floats infinitely.
Now, aside from that, they have exceptionally great mental stats, have expertise in perception, good dark vision, and they can speak deep speech, which is the language of aberrations. Now this here is the powerful anti-magic cone that beholders can create using the large central eye.
Yeah, this is obviously the big thing. I am shocked. I didn't realize they had anti-magic
on their bodies, which forms an anti-magic field effect as a 150-foot cone wherever it sees. And then down here we have all of the different magical eye rays that it can create with all of its 10 different eye stalks.
Charm ray, paralyze ray, fear ray, slow ray, enervation ray, telekinetic ray, sleep ray, petrification ray. Dude, this thing is it's a demon. Oh my god.
Now, the actual magic that emanates from his eye stalks have changed throughout the editions, at least some of them have. But worry not, we will cover each and every one of them in this series, including what the beholders use them for at an ecology level. Not just mechanically speaking, but trying to figure out, for example, what these creatures use these rays for in nature.
Ooh,
that is what I consider particularly interesting.
Yeah, true.
But
that's some
again,
good lore.
We'll cover that later. Now, we're also not going to cover the lore section of the Monster Manual entry. There really isn't anything in here that we're not going to cover later as we get deep into it. It is an okay entry overall, as it covers some of the most important parts of the creature, such as beholders being isolationist, xenophobic, and neurotic, but doesn't
Isolation is xenophobic and neurotic. Oh my god, he just like me. He just like me, for real, for real. That's crazy. That was a joke, obviously.
Really delve into the why. And of course, the why is what we're all here for, after all, on this channel. So sit back, relax, and let's find out what exactly makes these beholders tick. An adventurer that meets a beholder will struggle deeply to understand its behavior. The reason why it does what it does. That is because the mind of these eye tyrants are inexorably alien to us. How does one even explain such a concept to a human? See, humans and many other humanoids, they have a single mind.
Oh god, what does that mean?
It's interpreted by you based on your life experiences, biases, and preconceptions.
Yeah.
The voice in your head is, hopefully, your own. You think it, and you say it. There are
right, you know, like you walk on an elevator and you're like, you feel like everyone's staring at you, but they're also all thinking about how you're actually staring at them. Like, right? There's like this this obvious understanding that you have of people just because you have the same brain function.
Of course, outside of those, automatic processes that your brain does against your will. Sometimes your brain will trick you because it believes it to be beneficial. It might make you see something that is not there, or might erase something that you otherwise ought to see. Your eyes can, for example, see your nose in front of you, but most of the time your brain chooses to ignore it, so you don't see it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Well, it would...
This is especially for Jews, because like that blocks out like half your vision, so that's crazy.
Get in the way, of course. But what if...
What if you have no nose, like beholders? Beholders do not have noses.
Truth was what was getting in the way. What if an undeniable truth would risk shattering your psyche, simply because it opposed everything that you stood for? Why shouldn't your brain block you from sensing that? Well, now we're talking beholder.
Where are we
Beholders
going with this?
have two minds. the rational mind and the intuitive mind.
Uh-oh.
The rational mind is the cold and logical machine. It classifies information and assimilates it, remembering it for the beholder to access.
Okay.
The intuitive mind, however, is the one that truly calls the shots, though is the one that the beholder itself has no access to. The intuitive mind takes a catalog to everything that the beholder senses. It then simply passes to the rational mind only those parts that it thinks the beholder can comprehend and accept.
You're telling me that beholders are living neurotic nightmares? They're living constantly terrified of random bullshit because all the normal stuff just doesn't make it to their psyche?
Quote, without the protection of its intuitive mind,
They're just bundles of overpowered schizophrenics. This is terrifying.
beholder's sanity would snap in the face of data that contradicted its own self-understanding. End quote. To understand why seeing reality in its crude, raw form would destroy the mind of a beholder, you have to know that beholders believe that they are true perfection, that their bodies, their
course.
minds are
Obviously.
the pinnacle of evolution, created in the image of their perfect goddess, the Great Mother. Of course, not much of what the beholders actually believe is true, but the Great Mother is indeed real and she is indeed powerful. The Great Mother is an enormous beholder that drifts throughout the planes of existence, particularly in the lower planes.
Alright.
The beholders believe that they are the spawn of this all-powerful deific creature, and that this Great Mother contains all the knowledge of the multiverse. Beholders aspire, actually, to be like this Great Mother by obtaining as much information as they can about everything, because that's what she is, that's what she does. And a beholder thinks that they are an image of this goddess, which is perfection, so not being like the Great Mother would mean not being perfect, and
Oh my god. So they will destroy you. That's terrifying. So they're living in a perverse, terrifying world where everything is a threat, where everything is imperfect, where everything needs to be destroyed. Holy shit.
beholder would very much not like that. Now, the reality, of course, is that this all-powerful deific beholder is in fact a creature of chaos. She givers in a proto-language that is undecipherable by any mortal being, has no rhyme or reason to the actions that she ever takes, and seems unable to spread her knowledge, if she even has any, to any beholder or any other creature for that matter. Quote, unlike beholders, however, the Great Mother is totally devoid of any logic. It is a creature of chaos, ruled by instinct and randomness. Thus, the Great Mother does not exhibit any division between its rational and intuitive mind like mortal beholders.
So let me get this straight. You have these super genius, schizophrenic beholder creatures worshipping a fucking dumbass rock floating through space. Sounds about right.
It would greatly distress beholders to learn that the Great Mother's mind is totally unlike their own. Some beholders may have already discovered this fact. Such a shocking blow to their own deeply held self-understandings would become permanent cankers within the intuitive minds, sores that slowly chip away at their mental stability.
Bro.
End quote. Now, the mythos states that this Great Mother gave birth to a singular beholder, one named Xamnal, the only mortal offspring of this great deity. This Xamnal then itself gave birth to all of the mortal ancestors to the beholders of today and all of their different variations, and there are dozens of variations. There are many different kinds of beholders, from hive mothers to elder orbs to eyes of the deep, gods, observers, kisses, spectators, and many, many more. And even in between all of these different kinds, each version of each of those beholders has an almost infinite array of looks, from the color of their hide to the chitinous membranes around their body to the position of their eye stalks to the type of eyes that they have to the magical powers of those eyes, and again, so much more. Now, of course,
oh my God, I didn't realize there were so many different species and breeds of beholders. God damn. That's a lot of eyeballs. And all of them think that they're perfect because they all feel like they're connected to that giant mother. And their brain doesn't even let them compute the reality that their mother is just a dumb fucking rock in space. What a tortured existence, man.
Null made all of their children in the image of the Great Mother and then commanded them all to collect knowledge so that they might be like the Great Mother. But the mythos states that some of these children did the unthinkable.
Uh-oh.
Some of these children gave birth to other beholders that were not in the image of the Great Mother.
Oh, shit.
These heretical children are known as traitors.
What the fuck?
The appearances of these monsters, these aberrations, then commenced a great genocidal war fought by the true beholders against these fakes.
Because since they are different than the mother, they kill them.
And
oh
of
my
course,
God.
every single beholder believes themselves to be the true beholder, made in the image of the Great Mother, and any beholder that looks even just a tiny bit different than them, whether it is a wrong-colored blemish, one.
So they are literally giant, racist, overpowered, nuclear, neurotic, schizophrenic titans. That's terrifying.
On too many scales, the wrong amount of eyelashes, the forbidden eye color, any of the wrong attributes spotted in a beholder that differs from themselves is enough for a beholder to brand them one of the traitors, one of the beholders not in the image of the Great Mother. And when that happens, all beholders involved battle to the death. So now, you see, perhaps, why there is such division between the rational mind and the intuitive mind of a beholder.
Yeah.
Without the intuitive mind literally gaslighting the creature into unseeing facts that would contradict its perception of the world, it might see itself as not perfect, as not in the image of the Great Mother, which might be enough even to just kill the creature out of sheer bewilderment.
That is crazy. This is insanely cool lore. They made it create a terrifying creature because it has part of its mind that gaslights itself constantly. Think about this. It is constantly gaslighting itself into not recognizing reality because reality would be too terrifying for it. Beholders are all leftists. Oh my God! I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go that far.
Now here's an example of how the intuitive mind would gaslight the logical mind of a beholder. Quote, a beholder that spawns flawed offspring experiences a serious psychological trauma. After all, such flawed children represent the greatest offense to the one pure beholder breed. The beholder's intuitive mind then...
They're like actual schizophrenic Nazis. This is crazy, man. This is such good lore. I'm shocked. I just thought they were floating eyeball guys.
Steps in to protect the devastated creature. It takes control of the beholder without hesitation and attempts to slay or drive off the flawed offspring without letting any memory of the event filter into the rational mind.
So the beholder will have children, see they're imperfect, and murder them, and then forget that it murdered its own children to protect its perfect mind. Oh my lord! Holy shit! These guys are horrible!
After the beholder kills his offspring and calms down, the rational mind once again takes over. If for whatever reason the rational mind eventually realizes that it did not experience a proper birth, the intuitive mind will step in and suggest possible causes for such an event. With the help of the intuitive mind, the coldly logical powers of the rational mind begin to ruthlessly deduce the obviously external causes of the event. It may eventually decide that the beholder has been poisoned or tampered with in some way.
Bro.
This usually spins the beholder into a paranoid frenzy. Alternatively, it could proceed from the given that such a flawed birth is just an impossibility. Therefore, the whole memory was simply a magical induced hallucination. Again, this thought fuels its deep-seated belief that something wishes to harm the beholder. End quote. Now, how does all of this wrap around to summarize the core of the beholder psychology? Well, it can be summarized into 4 simple core tenets. 4 concepts that explain the foundational thought process of how every beholder is going to function. Number 1 is I represent the ideal. This one is straightforward.
Yep.
Every particular breed of beholder will see
all think
itself
they're
as the
perfect.
paragon of what being a beholder is.
Right, they're just like the
All
mother.
Other breeds, even those with even the tiniest of differences, are flawed. And number 2 is nothing that is not ideal has a right to exist. It exists only for my purposes.
Bro.
In other words, only that which is perfect has a right to exist. Quote, this belief justifies the beholder's enslavement or destruction of any creature not like itself. Beholders make no distinction between flawed sentient and flawed non-sentient creatures. Neither kind of creature has any worth at all when compared.
Right, so that's the moral compass. Its moral compass is that if it's perfect, it has the right to exist. If it's not perfect, we have to remove it to make the world perfect. And that's the moral axis it operates upon. Really a fascinating creature. I'm actually shocked. Really a fascinating creature.
To the ideal beholder. Occasionally, a beholder will encounter an enemy that it just cannot destroy, such as a village protected by powerful adventurers. In such cases, the beholder will assume that another member of the ideal breed is somehow working with its enemy.
No way!
This quagmire of logic represents the only way that a beholder can rationalize the continued existence and
God.
power of obviously inferior creatures. Many beholders use this type of faulty thinking to justify their innate paranoia.
Beholders seeing a village that they can't destroy, all of a sudden in their mind, it was the Jews! I'm sorry. The beholders all of a sudden in their mind, there must be another beholder at work here because I lost. And I would only lose to another beholder. I would never lose to anything that's not a beholder. So it must be a beholder. Oh well. This is crazy. Dude, these guys are fucking crazy people. Like, they're actually psychos.
End quote. So as you can see,
Like, and even though they're highly intelligent, you can't, like, communicate with them. They will never see things your way. You're imperfect and therefore don't have the right to exist. And it doesn't matter how much debate and discussion you have with them, they will kill you.
when it comes to adventurers, a beholder will either think that they are worthless creatures with no right to exist or worthless enough fit only to serve it, or that they're working for an enemy true beholder. At which point, well, what happens? How does a beholder deal with other true beholders? Don't worry, we will get to that. Number 3 is knowledge is power. Now, this particular ethos is not unique to beholders. In fact, many sentient creatures share this similar ethos.
Kind of funny how they all love knowledge, but they also gaslight themselves out of facts that are too, like, problematic.
Anyone with a brain can understand that knowledge brings about not just power, but influence, wealth, skill, and perhaps more importantly, the ability to enact one's will upon the world. Beholders, however, seek to make this ethos the forefront of most of their actions. Intriguing as well, this desire does not start from the need of a particular bit of knowledge, as in, the beholder does not necessarily seek this knowledge so that it can apply it. Instead, it just simply seeks all manner of knowledge that it does not have, for all knowledge is power, even that which it might not be able to actively use. There are, of course, levels to this. Not all knowledge is made equal, and a beholder will not waste time on inconsequential knowledge when it can invest its efforts on acquiring more powerful and more valuable knowledge instead. However, the way that a beholder seeks this knowledge can seem alien to those around it.
Yeah.
Beholders do not understand the social structures of other species. They do not know that a farmer is bound to have less knowledge than a merchant, or a knight, or a wizard in a tower. Therefore, you might see a beholder attempt to ransack a farm in search of obscure knowledge, potentially interrogating the farmer about its location. And then the last one, number 4, it is necessary to acquire knowledge at any cost.
Oh shit.
I have knowledge, others do not. Some of these ignorant creatures are of the ideal breed. Therefore, others of the ideal breed are out to get me. Now this here...
They're actually fucking paranoid schizophrenics. That's crazy. So, I saw this post. Alright. Like, this is an official D&D post in this realm. It's your story to tell. It's obviously the gayest shit in human history. There's not a single normal-looking creature in this entire page. Everything looks retarded. Now, one thing that I wanted to focus on was this was the Beholder. Like, I'm not trying to be rude here, but this is not at all what we were talking about, man. This is not what I was expecting at all. Like, these are terrifying, bro. These are horrifying creatures of neurotic cringe. This is just a gay little fucking flying head. It's insane. That's why everyone's so mad at them. I even responded, actually, to this tweet with, I think, a very good response. This was my response. This was my response to the tweet. That's what I had to say. Anyway.
Is the logical conclusion to all of the ethos of the beholder when they are put together. Knowledge is power and must be acquired at all cost. Just how I am trying to acquire knowledge at any cost, other beholders will also be trying to acquire knowledge at any cost. I have
That's the rationalization.
Knowledge that they don't have, so it makes sense that they will try to get the knowledge that I have at any cost. This is the core of what drives the incessant paranoia that fuels the beholder. This is what causes the beholder to take proactive actions to trap its lair, to think of thousands of possibilities for how it could be attacked, to distrust any creature that it sees, and to think that everything that happens is a reflection of an enemy trying to outdo them. Now, these
Yeah, no, that's why they gaslight themselves into thinking that they're going to get killed by other beholders. Because if they are searching for, knowledge at any cost, another beholder would search at any cost, and any cost would include killing me.
4 points, like I said, are the foundation of what constitutes the beholder's frame of mind. A beholder that possesses these 4 core points will be paranoid, will be isolationist, and will be a xenophobic creature, unfit to exist in any form of society, likely to attack or enslave anything that it sees. When a beholder is, however, instead seen as part of a society, such as a beholder found in a human city, for example, it is almost always because they are missing one or more of these core tenets, which can happen. These beholders are denominated as demented by their peers. Quote, occasionally, beholders lose their belief in one or more of the above tenets.
That's crazy.
Sometimes this comes out as a result of an encounter that challenged one of those assumptions. Some sages also believe that a chemical imbalance in the brain, whether as a result of...
No! The gaslight mind is imbalanced, so it doesn't gaslight the beholder into seeing reality as retarded. And that is how they become good. It's the retarded beholders that can actually become good.
Injury or mutation causes the affected beholder to behave oddly.
Bro.
Whatever the cause, once a beholder abandons any of its core beliefs, the other beholders of its community brand it as demented. The abandonment of one or more core beliefs does not automatically change the beholder into a force of good. No matter what their outlook, beholders remain a profoundly alien species. A beholder would have to abandon almost all of its racial identity in order to become remotely accepted in human company. It is possible that this change could happen, especially through the use of magic, but it is doubtful that the beholder would remain in its altered state forever. End quote. So, a beholder would have to lose all of its beliefs to be able to mingle perfectly with humans in a city, which rarely, of course, ever happens.
Crazy.
But losing only one of those beliefs is acceptable for a beholder to at least be able to participate in one way or another.
So essentially, the only way for a beholder to actually, exist in society and not be a lonely, xenophobic psychopath that's terrified of everything is if they are actually retarded. Like, you need to give them brain damage. That's crazy.
With such a society. For example, Zenithar, who runs the Thieves Guild in the city of Waterdeep, this beholder is likely to be one such beholder. Not demented enough to live amicably with his populace, but a little bit demented to be able to understand and accept the structure of the city so that he can then abuse it. For example, a beholder that, for one reason or another, rejects belief number 1, I represent the ideal, would not see themselves as perfect. This means that such a beholder would have no reason to be paranoid about other beholders trying to kill them, since they would be, by their own definition, beyond their notice. A rejection of belief number 2, nothing that is not ideal has a right to exist, it exists only for my purposes, would mean that such a beholder would have no
it could be friends! It could be friendly with people! It could literally be friendly with people, dude! Because now everything has the right to exist equally!
To be aggressive and tyrannical towards others, and could, in theory, reach its goals without the need to kill or enslave. And by rejecting belief number 3, knowledge is power, The beholder would have no imperative to go out and mess with the business of other creatures. It would not have a deep compulsion to rob and murder others, for they would have nothing that they would consider valuable. It is already perfect after all, so why bother trying to obtain something worthless from imperfect beings? So then, when you take all of this into account, it is then easy to understand why beholders simply cannot bond or socialize with others.
This was a great
especially
video.
Those of their kind, unless
really interesting.
they are demented. Quote,
That's awesome.
The very concept of deep and lasting social bonds between beholders is foreign to their identity. The creature's powerfully ingrained paranoia and often manic quest for knowledge prohibits the formation of even rudimentary friendships. Only the controlling power of a hive mother or overseer can force any sort of beholder fraternization. The tendency to reject social bonds of any sort naturally carries over to the realm of reproduction. Unlike humans and demi-humans, who often choose mates based on physical and mental attractiveness, beholders view physical and mental difference with hostility.
That's right!
Is
oh my god, because they're perfect, right? And everything else is automatically imperfect.
Either a pure breed, identical in every way to other pure beholders, or it is flawed and therefore deserving
Needs to be
of death.
destroyed.
In addition, beholders find it impossible to trust other beholders enough to mate with them. Their paranoid tendencies usually keep beholders at a distance from each other. End quote.
No!
Now, there are, of course,
these beholders, these fucking schizophrenic virgins, bro.
beholder cities, entire structures with dozens, if not hundreds, of beholders that live communally and happily with each other. This does have to do with the special type of beholder that I just mentioned, the hive mother and the overseers, which with their own special abilities appear to be able to muffle the beholder's fourth core belief, that knowledge must be obtained at any cost. This allows the formation of large hives of beholders and therefore cities of these creatures. And we will cover that, of course, on part 2 of this video, covering beholder cities, their social interactions, their various types of reproductions, and the different types of beholders that do exist.
Oh my god, that's crazy. All right, well, let me know if you want me to keep doing more beholder lore, but I feel like we got a pretty good sense of it. That was really good, dude. Holy crap. That was actually fantastic. Oh my god. Generationally black-pilled eyeball monsters with anti-magic. So, all in all, closing thoughts, they have really sick powers, sick abilities of all the different eyeballs having their own ability, and the main one being anti-magic. A really, really cool philosophy and psychology that gets them going. I'm gonna put this in A tier. This is absolutely an A tier creature. I'll be honest, I am shocked. I thought this would somehow be in the more average C, B tiers, but no, this is an easy A tier. I wouldn't say S tier. S tier is for like something really special. I'm gonna put these guys in A tier because honestly, they're fucking great. They're absolutely great. All right, well, anyway, I'm excited to see the next one. Let me know in the comments different lore dive and a different creature you want, and we'll see you there. Bye. Like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch. Stay weird, fam.